my office.
Hi, Mark. It's Stephanie Lucas. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. So just tell me about the Candace Owens event. It was really successful.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm chairman of the Republican Party here in Bonneville County, and we decided soon after I got involved with the party that we wanted to stop doing the kind of little events that generated the necessary funds to pay for our candidates. We were doing, I always refer to them as lemonade stands and bake sales. We're not doing those kind of things anymore. That wasn't quite that bad. We had some bigger events, but they weren't very frequent. We decided we'd be better off doing one big event, putting all of our effort into it once a year that covers all of our expenses and our candidate contributions. And as a county, we're responsible for contributing $5,000 or $6,000 a year to the state party to help with their expenses.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons you need fundraisers.
Yes.
And this was a big event.
Well, this is our fourth big event. We started 4 years ago. We had Janine Pirro, Judge Janine, come.
Wow.
And that was a great event. We had about 750 people there that day. And then the next year, we had Dinesh D'Souza come. Dinesh was awesome. He was our biggest event until this year. We had 850 at that event. That was indoors. And then last year, we had a gentleman named David Barton come up from Wall Builders down in Texas. He gave a great talk. He's not as well known, but he agreed to talk on God and the Constitution, and it was a really great event. This year, we decided to go all in, and the fall of last year, almost a year ago, we began negotiating to find a really good speaker, and we settled on Candace Owens. Candace wasn't nearly as well known a year ago as she is now. We sort of were prescient, got the right person at the right time, and in January we signed a contract for her to come in April. We were all set up in the same location that we'd had it before at the Melaleuca headquarters, and that would hold about 850, and we knew we could get that many with Candace, and then COVID hit, and there was a clause in the contract that allowed us to postpone her if there was something. It's called a force majeure clause, which means things beyond our control. And so we
COVID was definitely one of those this year.
Oh, absolutely. And this postponed it until September, so we scheduled for September 19th. And we were still concerned about COVID, about being able to hold it at our indoor facility, so we began looking for an outdoor facility. And we settled on the Chuckers Baseball Stadium, what's referred to as Melaleuca Field there on Elva. And it worked out great for us. The social distancing requirements could be met. It was outdoors. They had just finished their season of other events, very limited, but some events. So we were able to put tables actually down on the field. We had 63 8-person tables down on the field. They stretched from the backstop wall all the way out to the pitcher's mound. In fact, she stood on a stage that was right in front of the pitcher's mound. And then we distanced those tables, so there was about 10 or 15 feet between each table, and encouraged people to just stay at their own tables. We passed out masks as people came in, offered them a mask if they didn't have one, encouraged them to wear it unless they were eating. And we also were able to socially distance in the bleachers and the box seats up above. We only sat in every other seat, and we had 2 seats between each group. So if you were close to the people you drove in with, but you were far enough away from others that we didn't think there was any risk. And the public health agreed with that.
You had a lot of setbacks for this event because of COVID-19, and you got really creative to put this on.
Yep, we had to overcome a lot of restrictions. Because it was now being held in a city facility, we needed city permission. There were fees to pay. There was the cost of the venue expense. It changed our dynamics when one of the nice things about our other location was it came with tables and chairs. Now we had to rent all the tables and chairs, and we found a couple of vendors to be sure we got enough tables and chairs. But it also allowed us to do some things that we couldn't do elsewhere, the most dynamic of which was we decided that what we were doing was really replacing all of the events that were lost during the summer.
Yeah.
The most important of which in my mind was the 4th of July. Nobody went to a parade. There was no fireworks. So we contacted a vendor down in Salt Lake and arranged for them to come in and put up fireworks. And
you had a great fireworks show.
It was awesome. It only lasted 3 or 4 minutes, but you get a lot of fireworks in 3 or 4 minutes.
And there's something about being on a baseball field that's uniquely American when you have fireworks going off.
Yep. They were a special kind of fireworks. They used what they call cake fireworks. So, yes, they went up in the air, but they weren't these big, huge ones that go way. We didn't want to burn down the neighbors. So they were all maintained inside the ball field. We set it up so that there shouldn't have been any pieces of fireworks falling on anybody's lawn. There were a lot of them out there on the ball field that had to be picked up afterwards. But it was a great close. We did have to overcome some issues with regard to the weather, and we knew about the weather issue. I mean, we live in Idaho. We knew about
September,
weather.
Yeah.
Everybody else calls it climate change. We just call it weather. And in Idaho, you never know what you're going to get. And that day, we got it all. It was we woke up and it was raining, and then it got really nice. At 2 o'clock, it was just beautiful. And our event started right at 5 o'clock. It started to rain, and within 5 minutes, it started to hail.
Right.
And we got marble-sized hail. Well, maybe not quite that big, but there were some bruises left on some of us. But fortunately, it didn't last very long, and the event still turned out awesome.
You mentioned there was 750 people at the event 4 years ago, 850 a couple years ago. This was the biggest event ever. So what's the total count?
This time our count was somewhere between... It was difficult to get an exact count given the nature of this event because we had a lot of volunteers, some staff from the Chuckers. We're estimating something between 1,350 and 1,400.
That's a lot of work to put an event like that on.
It was a lot. The Chuckers people have a catering service, and so they provided us with the food, which made it much easier. I mean, we've had good catering before, but this was more baseball food, and we warned people that this wasn't going to be. Previously we've had a full course meal. It was enough food, but it wasn't the level of quality that we've. I mean, it was baseball food. That's what everybody expected.
It was fun.
I mean, when you go to a baseball stadium, you don't expect the same as you get at a restaurant. And we had ice cream for dessert. Our ice cream bars were donated by FARS. We got lots of donations from lots of people, given the nature of the event.
And I know you probably can't give us a total number, but this was definitely worth it for the Bonneville County Republican Central Committee.
Absolutely. We raised funds in multiples of what we had raised before because it was nearly twice as big as the biggest event we'd had before. We had a lot of internal fundraising events going on at the event. We had found a vendor that would sell us gold Trump coins, and we purchased those and resold those and made a decent profit. And we've still got a bunch of those left over. We'll be selling those. We're opening our campaign headquarters for the party this Saturday at the corner of Broadway and Yellowstone. You'll be able to drive by and see our headquarters signs, and we'll have some more coins in there. But we made good money on the coins. We had some Trump banners and some Trump flags. We had lots of MAGA hats. We got Candace Owens to sign some of those and sold those. The other thing we did two other things that we've traditionally done. We had a good auction, a silent auction. We did that online, and we had lots of people, lots of businesses throughout the community and individuals who donated things, all from silver coins to all sorts of stuff that spotlighted the kind of things that those vendors provided. Anderson Manufacturing donated a couple of trailer hitches. Lots of people donated things that they had made by hand, hand quilted by some of our PCOs. And we raised good money with those, and we also had some a raffle. Under Idaho law, everybody who attends this event got a raffle ticket, so everybody could participate. We sold some additional raffle tickets, and we raffled off an AR-22 rifle. We raffled off a pistol, and then we had donated to us from a metals store out of Boise, whose name escapes me. They donated a quarter-ounce gold Trump commemorative coin.
Wow.
And we raffled that off, too.
So those are great prizes. This isn't just, you know, hey, here's some baked goods. I mean, this is the actual firearms. Oh, yeah. It's so Republican.
Yep. There was a shotgun that was included in the silent auction, so there were lots of opportunities. Several of the local Guns and Gear donated some passes, some range passes, and some classes to receive training. There was another similar vendor that donated some other those same kind of things. So we were really gratified by all of the donations.
That's great. Now, another reason I know that the Central Committee holds fundraisers is to kind of get the community involved and get people to get involved in politics. People always say, oh, there's nothing I can do. There absolutely is. And you can join your county party and volunteer for these events, correct?
Absolutely. We had people show up that very day. We had a couple that had just moved in 3 weeks ago from California, had heard about the event, that we were sold out. We says, we can't sell you any tickets. But I felt they were so desperate to get in. I says, if you want to come and help us set up, come and work with us. I'll find a place for you to sit. And they came and stayed most of the day, helped set up tables, helped decorate tables. They were there through the evening and helped us with the silent auction. We gave them a couple of seats. They left early. They got too cold. They were still California-blooded. They went home after Candace's
that's not
talk.
Cold. In Idaho, that is not cold. But yeah,
we did lose a lot of people. Candace spoke for about 45 minutes, and a number of people were there specifically to see her. And after she spoke, a lot of people did depart because it was getting cold. A lot of people were huddled under blankets.
Yeah,
husbands ran back to the cars and brought blankets, and it was. I was more wet than cold, but a lot of people were wet and cold.
Right. So both there. And then you had the Donald Trump impersonator that people stuck around for. That was great.
We followed with a Donald Trump impersonator, a gentleman named Bob DeBuono, who sounds so much like Trump. Yeah. We literally had people calling, asking how we managed to get the president to come to our event because our advertising included him and him speaking, and so many people on the radio stations thought he was actually the president because he sound. If you weren't looking at him, you'd think. Even if you are looking at him, you'd think it's him.
He was in my station without his makeup on, and I just kept looking over at him like, "You really sound exactly like Donald Trump."
So much like him.
That was so much fun.
And that night he dressed up. He was in character. The biggest difference is he's about 8 or 10 inches shorter than the president, who's quite tall.
He really is. Yeah.
So we had to get a little box for him to stand on as he spoke, but he was. To bring him up, and we had a lot of fun. We had a couple of students dressed up as Secret Service agents. We were actually going to fly him in a helicopter and play hail to the chief as he came in, but he is quite airsick, and he says, "Nope, I can't do that. I just
not
can't
that
do
day.
that."
Yet again, you just got to roll with the punches when you're putting on a fundraiser like this outside, and your organization just overcame so much to do this huge event at risk of sounding like the Donald Trump impersonator, but it was huge. And you just overcame a lot of obstacles to have this event that probably was the biggest event Bonneville County has seen in months.
I think this might qualify as the biggest Republican event in the state of Idaho this year.
Wow.
I attended the state convention back in June, and its attendance was about 700. So I would challenge anybody to tell us. Maybe there's another event out there that was bigger, but I'm not aware of it.
Right. And what people need to realize is there's a lot involved behind the scenes. This is an entire year of planning. So if you want to get involved with the Bonneville County Republican Central Committee, you need to come to meetings. You need to be on the inside. You need to help out, and you'll be a part of these wonderful events.
Well, every neighborhood throughout the county, every area in the county has a precinct committee officer.
Yes.
And they are all encouraged to have assistant precinct committee officers. So you're welcome to either contact the party or go on our Facebook page, or you can call the elections office, Bonneville County Elections Office. Give them your address, and they'll tell you who your precinct committee officer is and give you their phone number. And I'd encourage you to do that. Call that officer and say, "I want to help."
Right, and there's a lot of people don't know that. That's where it starts. There's a hierarchy, and it comes all the way down to precinct committee officers. They're extraordinarily important.
Right. I am the precinct committee officer in my neighborhood, and I have an assistant. I've had several assistants over the years. They help me hang materials on doors just before the election. Sometimes we arrange to pass signs out for people to put in their yard. They help in many different ways, but especially they help with these big events. We're trying to decide right now. Normally our event is held in the spring, as we had intended this one to be.
Yes.
We're probably I don't really want to do another one of these in 6 months. And we still don't know what COVID's going to be like in April.
And the only drawback to this is now you guys, everyone's looking at you to top this amazing event. That's a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah, Melania would be a great speaker next year, but I kind of doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But topping Candace Owens is going to be hard. We really hit the jackpot.
She got so much attention this summer with everything that happened with the riots and the looting, and she just got so many followers on Twitter. Everyone was listening. So it was actually kind of advantageous that you had to put the event off.
Well, she just came out with a new book, Blackout, That book was supposed to be released in March, just before our earlier event, but for a number of reasons, its release was delayed, and it actually came out the Wednesday before our event. So we couldn't have timed it better. Although it was so close to our event, it made it impossible for us to get advance copies to sell at that event. But a number of people had gone to the store or pre-ordered those books and brought them and had her autograph them. But virtually every day before she showed up at our event, she was being followed on Facebook and on Twitter because something was happening. I think that was orchestrated in part by her to support the release of her book. But just to help you understand how popular Candace Owens is, as she entered our stadium, she had a photographer following her, videoing. Now, we were prevented from doing that by our contract. We couldn't film her and post it, but she could. And she had a video following her, walking up to the stage and speaking for the first 2 or 3 minutes, introducing herself to Idaho, saying how happy she was here, and then it cut off. But the day after the event, she uploaded that to her Instagram account. More than 1 million views have occurred with regard to that excerpt.
So she's putting Bonneville County on.
1 million people have watched the Bonneville County Lincoln Day event.
And so you can just go right to her page and look it up. It's just a few down. I checked it out. There's so many people. Yeah, over 1 million views. She really put Bonneville County on the map for sure.
She really did. And she was an amazing speaker, very friendly to the people that were there, great to work with. It was a joy to have her there, especially knowing that she's also 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Now, when we booked her back in January, the conception hadn't occurred yet. I don't know when she married. I assume she was married before that, but I don't know when her marriage date was. But she came. You could see the baby bump, but she was still really glad to be there, active and participating. We gave her afterwards a basket full of gifts, mostly baby toys, a couple of chuckers, stuffed animals, and a little onesie from Idaho. She seemed quite happy to receive those gifts
that's
from us.
great.
They commemorated her trip to Idaho. I think she had a great time.
An Idaho baby gift basket. Yeah, she's a terrific speaker. I saw that. It was great. Had a great time. Yeah. Thank you so much for filling us in on that. It was terrific. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. We appreciate your support, but we mostly want to say we appreciate the support of all the local individuals and businesses who bought tables. We sold those tables at $1,000 apiece, and that's a lot of money. But what that did was allow us to bring in another 800 citizens, normal voters, who only had to pay $40 to get in and have a meal and see a great speaker. And that's only possible. That's our goal, is to keep the cost of general admission down for the normal individual. That only works because of all of the great businesses and individuals who support us with those table sponsors. So I really want to thank them for all of their support, and those who donated to our silent auction.
Absolutely. And the great thing about the tables is you can, for next year, if people want to buy a table, you can go in with a few friends and purchase a table. It's not an enormous expense if you do it that way.
That's right. It's not just about buying the table. It's providing the support. It's a donation. It's not a tax deductible donation, but it's a donation to support the party and to support the conservative candidates that we put forth, so that they can be successful in 4C.
It was absolutely worth it. It was a terrific program. People told me, we're talking. I was covering the event, and they said they just could not remember when they'd had that much fun. So it was a great event, and especially in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, to finagle all that, figure out all the social distancing, and put on a great event despite everything else.
There were only a couple of people that were unhappy. One gentleman came up to me and he says, "I should be hunting." And I says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I was hunting, and my wife says, 'Come home so we can go to Candace.'"
They're going to hold you accountable for that.
There was another man who came up to me and says, "Well, this is my birthday present to my wife. That's all she wanted was tickets to Candace." So, but she was very popular among the women, but I didn't hear a single complaint from the men either, because she was such an awesome speaker.
Well, thank you for bringing in a strong conservative female speaker. That has a huge impact.
Thank you, and look for us to do it again next year.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get updates on that. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Have a great day.